Look at the weather.
It's beautiful here.
Non-stop rain.
Oh, man, it is a blazer out there.
It's cold and it's shivery.
It is cold.
Really coming down here.
I really enjoy your weather reports.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, we're talking weather in a whole new way. From historical events to what's coming up, plus weather news, science, safety, fun facts, and more.
I like where this is going.
This is Weather Weekly. Weather Weekly with Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey.
Episode number 50 here of Weather Weekly. Good to have you along. Yeah, we're doing some back-to-back here podcast action as we gear up for this big winter system that's coming through central Indiana. And we're already starting to see at least the early stages of that. I am meteorologist Marcus Bailey from Wish TV in Indianapolis. Good to be with you here as I'd like to have a kind of a bigger thing to celebrate that this is the 50th edition of the podcast. But we want to get into the nuts and bolts of where we're at, where we're going, and if there's any significant changes to this winter weather forecast. We're going to have a full breakdown. That's coming up next here on Weather Weekly.
Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Welcome back, episode number 50 here of Weather Weekly. This is a special edition, although this is the day that the weekly podcast drops here. We had a special podcast yesterday kind of talking about this winter storm. We're going to continue that trend here for today and likely having another one for Thursday as well. Thanks to everybody that downloaded the podcast yesterday. Certainly appreciate it, and hopefully you found that useful. I'm going to be riding solo here on this, so we're going to have just kind of a brief update, but kind of let you know where we stand. And I should at least let you know we're recording this Wednesday morning, so February 2nd, Wednesday morning, Groundhog Day. Isn't that ironic here? Started to see the beginnings of this winter system and playing out pretty much how we thought we were going to start things off in the central portions of the state, specifically with rain and a decent amount of it. It's pretty steady, has been all morning. Think it will be here for much of the day as well. So we'll continue to monitor that. I haven't really seen many changes to the forecast that are significant in terms of timing. We may be trimming snowfall amounts, and just be aware, this is still going to be a significant event. On the podcast yesterday, I was saying 5 to 8. Then if you were watching on TV, we went up to around 8 to 12. There were some colder signs and signals here that may have shown we may flip the switch a little bit earlier and have some heavier snowfall this evening. That may not be quite the case, or maybe the snowfall is not as significant for Wednesday night. But look, Thursday is still going to be a good thump of snow in central Indiana. So without, just the exception of some minor changes, I think this forecast has been holding on track. So no major changes here. Should say a winter storm warning is in effect basically for the entire state. The exception is southern Indiana, not under a winter storm warning. You're actually under an ice storm warning for counties along and just north of the Ohio River. And I think ice is going to be more of a significant issue that far south here, especially as we head into Thursday. Just looking at the Weather Service, and I know a lot of you that listen to this podcast, you kind of will go along with me on some of these websites that I guide you to. The Weather Service has a fantastic timeline graphic that they have put out the past couple of days that really breaks down everything for you in terms of what we're going to get at what time and when we will see a transition to a different type of precipitation. I'm going to kind of walk you through this here verbally, but I definitely encourage those of you that really want to get that information. I've posted some of it on my social media pages. You can check it out at weather.gov/IND. That's the Indianapolis Indianapolis office. And in the top right corner, it'll have kind of a special weather briefing for this winter system. And they have a whole list of things that you should be aware of here. They do an excellent job here. And again, depending on your location, it's going to be kind of a different timeline here. Case in point, Lafayette. We've already started to see that transition here from, say, 7 o'clock Wednesday morning. Started seeing snow. So now you're going to continue basically with snow for the rest of your Wednesday. Now it'll kind of go in stages in terms of will it be moderate? Will it be heavy? Will it be lighter? And so that kind of goes back and forth because, again, if you were listening to the podcast yesterday, we have been saying with this forecast, this was going to come in two waves. Wave number 1 happening here on this Wednesday. Wave number 2 will come in on Thursday. Now, for Indianapolis, the timeline remains rain until mid to maybe late afternoon when we'll start to see rain turning into a moderate wintry mix. That wintry mix, that could include sleet. It could include freezing rain. It could include snow mixing with rain and kind of back and forth between all of those. And that may last until around mid-evening. We may not flip the switch entirely to all snow until around, let's say, 7, 8, 9 o'clock in Indianapolis. And right now it looks to be kind of light, maybe moderate at times as we get into the overnight hours. I think it's a case where in Indy, we may, by the time you wake up Thursday morning, only have a couple of inches of snow on the ground. But what's interesting is some of you may be listening to us in Boone and Hamilton County if you live in the metro area. So if you're not familiar with that, that's the northern counties surrounding Indianapolis, pretty highly populated suburban areas. You could have a lot more snow on the ground by the time you wake up Thursday morning. In fact, it could be one of those cases where Wednesday evening, you're leaving for the evening drive downtown Indianapolis and it's just wet, maybe starting to see that transition. But you get up north and you live in Lebanon or you live in, say, Cicero or Westfield, or you're making your way up, say, toward LaPel or Pendleton, up around Madison County, you could have a few inches of snow on the ground. So it's going to be that kind of a fine of a line. And that's what we've been kind of wanting to stress here. Different changing conditions very quickly. Terre Haute, rain for much of the day. I think you will start to see a transition by late this afternoon to a wintry mix and then all snow this evening. Bloomington is going to be a little bit later for you. Rain probably hangs on through mid-evening, 8, 9 o'clock, and then you start to make a transition to some light freezing rain. You got a wintry mix then probably from late night into the early overnight hours. Freezing rain at times as you head close to daybreak on Thursday. So the transition is going to be much more slowed for you. Same thing down in Seymour. Rain vast majority of the day and night. You'll make a transition after midnight to some freezing rain. For most areas in central Indiana, you're going to be locked in with snow all day on Thursday. And I do think it's going to be moderate to at times heavy. Lafayette, Indy, Terre Haute, Bloomington, probably through the mid-morning hours and probably through the early afternoon. We likely won't really kind of ease up the snow until probably close to dinner time in Indianapolis. So you're going to have several extended hours of moderate to at times heavy snow across our area. Now, our forecast did go for 8 to 12 inches of snowfall in Indy through the morning hours. There's been some signs that we may need to trim that back a little bit, but I'm not going to go too far back. All right. So I think 8 to 12, I may trim it back about 2 inches on both the high end and the low end around Indianapolis. So maybe around 6 to 10 inches of snow. And that would probably include areas along I-70. We may really have to trim back some southern areas of the metro area like Martinsville and Shelbyville, where you may be closer to, say, 4 to 8 inches. We kind of brought that 8 to 12 a little bit farther south. I think we need to probably bring that line back a little bit north. Why? I think sleet is going to play more of a role in that forecast here for the overnight hours and early tomorrow morning when we would be seeing heavy snow where we thought we were going to see heavy snow. But even 4 to 8, that's a good thump, and that's going to still cause some problems here. It's just not going to be quite as high as what we initially thought in some of those spots. Bloomington, Columbus, I think you're probably going to be in that 3 to 6 inch range. Same thing for around Greensburg. You get down to around Bedford and Seymour, you're probably closer to maybe 2 to 4 inches of snowfall there. Still very high numbers we're anticipating up around Lafayette, Kokomo, Frankfort. You're probably going to be into that 12 to 15 inch range. And then you get into northern Indiana, you can see some areas that are probably going to be 15 plus. Muncie, I've got you kind of, again, in that 8 to 10 inch range. Here, you get closer to I-70 on the east end of the state, you're getting maybe closer to that 5 to 8 inch range. But look, this is still going to be a significant snow, and this isn't unexpected. I know we get a lot of heat and say, hey, you're always changing the forecast. Well, the forecast changes. You know, we're trying to evolve as the actual system is evolving. So I wish that forecast, snow forecast especially, could be set in stone 2 days in advance, but the technology's not there. It's never really been there. There's some that become a little bit more obvious, but this has been a very complex forecast. I'll say that we're feeling a little bit more confident. There's still going to be kind of probably some adjustments here over the next 24 hours, but we don't see significant adjustments. I know the big question is this going to be a bust? We don't see that happening. I mean, we're already in the middle of it. We're in the thick of it. We've got plenty of moisture. We've got plenty of cold coming down. We're seeing the damage being done in northern and northwestern Indiana, where at least by mid-morning on Wednesday, there's already 3-4 plus inches of snow on the ground in places like Valparaiso, South Bend, that type of thing. So that's where we always thought the snow was going to be at the heaviest, was going to be in the northern parts of the state. But we're still going to get a good thump, we think, in central Indiana here. Through the next 24 to 36 hours, taking you into Thursday night. I should also mention, we do believe that the snow, for the most part, will be wrapping up shortly after midnight, Thursday night into Friday morning. I don't think we're going to have much lingering snow to create major problems. If there is an issue weather-wise for Friday morning, we could have wind gusts taking you through Thursday night and maybe into early Friday morning around 30 miles per hour. And so that's going to be coming out of the north and west. So we could have some blowing and drifting snow kind of taking hold here. I do think that those winds are going to ease up as we get kind of deeper into your Friday. So I don't think that's a long-term issue. But with as much snow on the ground, you're going to have a little breeze kicking up. That still causes some visibility issues, some drifting over. You're going to have a lot of snow that could get blown over as well. So something to keep in mind. And then we get significantly colder, thanks in part to a colder air mass settling in, and a fresh snowpack on the ground that's going to help kind of yank down those temperatures. So I think highs are only into the low 20s for Friday. You're likely going to wake up to numbers near zero Saturday morning, and highs only in the mid 20s on Saturday. We may get close to freezing on Sunday. Doesn't look like the snow is going to melt anytime soon, though. So that's going to be sticking around for a while. Make sure you're staying up to date to the forecast. We'll keep you updated here. They'll have some new updates coming your way, of course, through the afternoon. Ashley Brown will be with you at 5 and 6 o'clock this evening as we kind of massage this forecast a little bit. But again, everything seems to be on track as we roll through your Wednesday. Going to be a very wet one for a lot of you here in the Indy metro area. You get a little bit north of Indy, we'll flip that switch to snow for the afternoon hours, and then we'll have to buckle up for Thursday, which we think could be a bumpy ride around much of central Indy. It'll be our turn for that winter weather. We'll wrap things up here, coming up next here on Weather Weekly. Thanks for joining me here on episode number 50. Hopefully you found that informative. If you like the podcast, we try to do this on a weekly basis. This has been a special week with this winter storm coming through. And make sure you give us a follow and a rating here on whatever podcast platform that you listen to. And certainly appreciate any feedback that you have. You can reach me out on social media at Marcus Bailey on Twitter, Marcus Bailey Weather on Instagram and Facebook as well. Make sure to check out everybody else's, my teammates' Facebook pages as we go throughout this storm. Ashley Brown, our chief meteorologist, Tara Hastings, Stephanie Mead, Randy Alice, and David James. We've got all the information hopefully you need to kind of get you through and let you know what to expect here as we go through the middle of this week in this winter storm. Moving on through. While you're here, make sure you also check out all the other great podcasts we have, all part of the All Indiana Podcast Network. We'll talk soon and stay safe.
Discover more Discover more from Storm Track 8 Weather and Wish TV. Online at wishtv.com and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook. Plus, be sure to check out more great podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.